Let me guess, you're here because you're tired. Not just physically tired, but emotionally drained. You've spent so much time, so much energy, chasing someone's attention. You've rewritten the same message 10 times, hoping this time they'll respond differently. You've played their words over and over in your head, trying to decode what they really meant. But let's be honest, what has all this chasing brought you? Have they shown you the respect you deserve? Have they gone out of their way to make you feel valued, important, or even noticed? Or are you left sitting in silence, staring at your phone, wondering why you're always the one who cares more? Here's the truth, they don't see your worth. Not because you don't have it, but because you've handed it to them without a second thought. You've made them the center of your world, and in doing so, you've made yourself an option, a backup plan, a convenient choice. How does that feel? To know that while you're losing sleep over them, they might not even realize it? To feel like no matter how much you give, it's never enough to get the love, the attention, the recognition you crave? Let me ask you something even harder. Why are you doing this to yourself? Because let's be real, this isn't their fault. You've allowed it. You've taught them that they can take you for granted, that your time, your energy, your heart are all things they don't have to work for. And now, here you are, left feeling empty, used, and invisible. But it doesn't have to stay this way. What if I told you that the power to change this dynamic has been in your hands all along? What if I told you that you can stop this cycle of chasing, hoping, and hurting? That you can flip the script, not by manipulating them, but by reclaiming your worth and making them see you for who you truly are? Think about it. How many times have you compromised your self-respect just to feel seen by them? How many times have you stayed silent when you should have spoken up, all because you were afraid of pushing them away? It's time to stop. It's time to stop giving away your power. To stop bending over backward for someone who doesn't even notice. To stop believing that your worth is tied to their approval. Because the reality is this: if someone truly values you, they won't need to be convinced. They won't need you to chase them, beg them, or prove yourself to them. They'll feel your presence, your strength, and your uniqueness without you lifting a finger. And if they don't, then it's not your job to make them. In this video, I'm going to share with you 11 powerful psychological techniques that will make them think about you 24/7. These aren't tricks to manipulate or deceive. They're strategies to help you reclaim your power and show them what they're missing. Imagine this. Instead of sitting by the phone, waiting for a reply, you're the one they're checking their phone for. Instead of constantly giving, you're the one they're trying to impress. Instead of being forgotten, you're the one they can't stop thinking about. Sounds good, doesn't it? These techniques are designed to shift the way they see you by tapping into universal truths about human psychology. They'll create a sense of curiosity, intrigue, and longing, things that make people pay attention, remember, and value you. But here's the catch. These techniques won't work if you don't first believe in your own worth. If you're still clinging to the idea that you have to earn their love, these strategies will fall flat. So before we dive into the first technique, I need you to make a commitment to yourself, not to them. Say this out loud, or write it down if you need to. I am enough. I deserve respect. I will no longer beg for attention. Feel that? That's the beginning of a shift. In a moment, I'm going to walk you through the first of these 11 techniques. Each one is simple but powerful, designed to help you take back control and create a lasting impression without ever chasing, begging, or compromising your self-respect. But remember this: true power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. And once you've mastered these techniques, you won't just be someone they think about, you'll be someone they can't forget. Let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Why are you here? Maybe it's because you've found yourself feeling invisible in a relationship or friendship. Maybe you've poured your heart into someone, hoping they'd notice, only to feel overlooked. It's painful, isn't it? To give so much and feel like you're getting so little in return. But here's the real question. Why do we chase so desperately for someone else's attention? The answer lies in how we perceive our own value. You see, most of us were never taught how to truly value ourselves. We've been conditioned to believe that our worth is determined by how others see us, by how much they like us, or by how often they choose us. And because of that, we hand over our power to people who may not even deserve it. But here's the truth. Your worth is not something that someone else can decide. It's not something that can be given or taken away. It's something that comes from within, and it starts with understanding and mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said it best: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does this mean in the context of relationships? It means that chasing someone else's attention is futile because you can't control how they feel about you. But what you can control is how you show up, how you value yourself, and how you let others treat you. When you shift your focus from seeking external validation to building internal strength, something incredible happens. People start to see you differently. They sense your confidence, your independence, and your self-respect. You no longer have to chase their attention. They'll be drawn to you naturally. Now, let's talk about a mistake many of us make: overgiving. You might think that by giving more time, more effort, more love, you'll eventually win them over. But often, the opposite happens. The more you give without receiving, the less they value what you offer. Why? Because when something is always available, it's easy to take it for granted. Think about it. Do you value the air you breathe or the water you drink on a daily basis? Probably not, because it's always there. But if those things became scarce, suddenly their value would skyrocket. The same principle applies to relationships. When you make yourself too available, too predictable, or too willing to bend over backward, you lose your sense of mystery, your allure. And that's what this video is about, helping you regain that sense of intrigue and value. Before we dive into the 11 techniques, it's important to understand one thing. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games or deceiving anyone. Instead, it's about shifting the way you see yourself and the way others see you. It's about reclaiming your power and teaching others to respect you by respecting yourself first. Here's an example. Imagine you're at a party and there are two people in the room. One is constantly trying to get everyone's attention, laughing too loudly, telling stories that don't land, and hovering around conversations they're not invited to. The other person is calm, confident, and engaged in meaningful discussions with a select few people. Who do you think leaves a stronger impression? The second person, of course, because they're not trying to prove themselves. They know their value, and their presence naturally draws others in. You can be that person, the one who doesn't chase, who doesn't beg, but who commands attention simply by being authentic and self-assured. Now, let's add another layer to this. Human psychology plays a huge role in how people perceive value. We're naturally drawn to things that feel scarce or exclusive. We're intrigued by mystery, and we're captivated by people who seem secure in themselves. When you understand these dynamics, you can start to shift the way you interact with others. Instead of being the one who's always available, you become the one they want to pursue. Instead of over-explaining your feelings, you let your actions and your confidence speak for themselves. These 11 techniques aren't about tricking anyone. They're about aligning with these psychological truths to create genuine, lasting connections. Here's a sneak peek of what's coming. How to use silent withdrawal to make them feel your absence. Why creating a sense of intrigue and doubt can make them think about you constantly. How to balance vulnerability with strength to build deep emotional connections. And most importantly, how to rebuild your self-respect and make them see your worth. These techniques are powerful, but they only work if you commit to valuing yourself first. So, before we move on, I want you to take a deep breath and repeat this affirmation. I am enough. I am worthy of love, respect, and attention. Write it down if you need to. Say it out loud, because this mindset is the foundation for everything we're about to discuss. In the next section, we'll dive into the first technique. Remember, this isn't just about making them think about you. It's about creating a version of yourself that you're proud of, someone who doesn't need to chase because they already know their value. Technique 1, silent withdrawal. The first technique is silent withdrawal. This isn't about playing games or ghosting someone. It's about creating space for them to feel your absence. Here's the problem. When you're always available, always the one reaching out, you become predictable. Predictability breeds complacency, and complacency leads to being taken for granted. Silent withdrawal disrupts this pattern entirely. Imagine this. You've been the one who always texts first, who always checks in, who's always there. But suddenly you don't. You take a step back, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. At first, they may not even notice. But over time, they'll start to feel the difference. It's like background music suddenly stopping. They didn't pay much attention when it was there, but now the silence feels unsettling. This isn't about ignoring someone forever. It's about breaking the cycle of overavailability. When you remove yourself from the equation, even briefly, it forces them to reconsider your presence. They begin to wonder, why haven't you reached out? Did they do something wrong? Are you moving on? The psychological effect is profound. Humans are wired to notice what's missing. When you withdraw, you create a gap that they feel compelled to fill. But here's the key. Silent withdrawal only works if you stay consistent. Don't break the silence to check if they've noticed. Let them come to you. And remember, this isn't about revenge. It's about resetting the dynamic. By valuing your time and presence, you teach them to value it too. Silent withdrawal isn't about making them feel abandoned. It's about reminding them what it feels like to miss you. Technique 2, the seed of doubt. The second technique is planting the seed of doubt. This isn't about creating jealousy or spreading lies. It's about letting them wonder, just enough to keep you on their mind. Humans crave certainty, especially in relationships. When someone feels secure in knowing where they stand with you, they might unconsciously start taking you for granted. Introducing a little mystery disrupts that security in a way that keeps them engaged. Here's how it works. You subtly hint that your world doesn't revolve around them. For example, during a casual conversation, you might mention that you've been busy meeting new people or that a friend complimented you on something. The goal isn't to flaunt attention from others, but to gently remind them that you're someone others find valuable. This triggers a psychological response where they begin to question, am I the only one they care about? Could someone else catch their attention? For instance, imagine saying, it was so nice to catch up with an old friend the other day. They reminded me of how much I've grown. Simple, right? But in their mind, they might start wondering, who is this friend? Are they closer than I realized? This technique works because it taps into their natural desire to secure what feels uncertain. You're not manipulating them, you're showcasing your independence and the richness of your life. The seed of doubt grows not through what you say, but through what they imagine. Let it bloom naturally, and you'll find yourself on their mind more than ever. Technique 3, false closeness. The third technique is false closeness. It's about creating a sense of intimacy without revealing too much. You're letting them feel like they're getting a glimpse into your world, but in reality, you're holding back just enough to keep them intrigued. Here's the psychology behind it. People crave connection, especially when they feel like it's unique to them. When you selectively share personal details, things that feel meaningful but don't expose your deepest vulnerabilities, you create a bond that feels special. They'll feel like they know you on a deeper level, even if they've only scratched the surface. For example, imagine sharing a childhood memory that shaped who you are today. Like, when I was a kid, I struggled with being shy, but I learned to push through it by performing in school plays. That's probably why I value authenticity so much now. This story feels personal, but notice how it doesn't reveal anything that makes you overly vulnerable. It's intentional. It gives them just enough to feel connected, but it leaves room for curiosity. The beauty of false closeness is that it allows you to maintain control. You're not oversharing or giving away too much of yourself. Instead, you're creating a narrative that they want to know more about. They'll replay those moments, wondering what else there is to discover. This technique works because it balances openness with mystery. People are naturally drawn to those who reveal themselves slowly, like peeling back layers of an intriguing story. By sharing selectively, you remain captivating and unforgettable, leaving them wanting more of you. Technique 4, push and pull. The fourth technique is push and pull. It's a dynamic strategy that creates a sense of unpredictability in your interactions, keeping things fresh, engaging, and intriguing. Here's the core idea. You give someone your full attention, warmth, and connection for a moment, the push. Then you step back, creating space and distance, the pull. This balance of engagement and attachment taps into human psychology, which craves both certainty and the thrill of the unknown. For instance, let's say you're having a deep, engaging conversation. You're fully present, laughing, and connecting. Then, as the conversation naturally winds down, you excuse yourself or become slightly more reserved. You're not being rude or dismissive, you're just shifting the energy. This subtle change leaves them wondering, what just happened? Did I do something wrong? This uncertainty draws them in, making them eager to regain your attention and connection. The beauty of push and pull is that it's not about playing games, it's about maintaining balance. If you're always giving, you risk overwhelming them and becoming predictable. If you're always pulling away, you seem distant or disinterested. The magic happens in the rhythm. You engage fully, then gracefully step back. People are wired to want what feels just out of reach. The push creates closeness, while the pull leaves them wanting more. This technique keeps them thinking about you, replaying interactions in their mind, and seeking ways to stay close to you. Remember, push and pull isn't manipulation. It's creating a natural flow in your interactions that keeps the connection alive and dynamic. Technique 5. Mixed signals. The fifth technique is mixed signals. This strategy works by creating moments of emotional unpredictability, keeping them intrigued and invested in figuring you out. Humans are naturally drawn to clarity, but when something or someone feels just out of reach, it sparks curiosity and keeps the mind engaged. Mixed signals play into this psychological need by creating an ebb and flow of emotional highs and lows. Here's how it works. One day, you're warm, attentive, and fully engaged, making them feel valued and special. The next, you're a bit more reserved, still polite, but less available or less emotionally expressive. This subtle shift makes them wonder, what changed? Are they upset? Did I lose their attention? For example, imagine texting someone back immediately for a few days, building a sense of comfort and consistency. Then, you suddenly take a few hours to reply or even wait until the next day. When you do respond, you're just as kind and engaging as before, but the gap creates an emotional ripple. Mixed signals work because they keep the other person on their toes, questioning their own position in your life. They'll analyze your actions, replay conversations in their mind, and crave the moments when they feel most connected to you. But here's the key. Mixed signals aren't about being hot and cold or intentionally confusing. It's about being multidimensional. You're showing them that you're not predictable, that you're someone with depth and independence. This keeps you intriguing, captivating, and unforgettable. When done right, mixed signals create a balance of accessibility and mystery, ensuring they keep thinking about you long after your interactions. Technique 6. The mirage of need. The sixth technique is the mirage of need. This is about creating the illusion that they're special to you, that you need them in your life, without ever giving them full control. Here's the secret. People are drawn to feeling important, but they lose interest if they feel entirely responsible for your happiness. The mirage of need strikes a balance. It lets them feel valued and significant without making them think you're dependent on them. For example, you might casually say, "I've been feeling a little stressed this week. Talking to you always helps me put things in perspective." This creates a sense of connection and importance. But here's the key. You don't overdo it. You immediately follow it with something like, "But I've got a plan to get things back on track." This combination creates the mirage. On one hand, they feel like their presence or support matters to you. On the other, you maintain your independence and self-sufficiency. It's compelling because it makes them feel valuable without overwhelming them. Psychologically, this technique works because people are naturally drawn to those they feel they can help or support. But if you appear overly dependent, it creates pressure. The mirage of need allows them to feel emotionally invested while still respecting your strength. Remember, this isn't about playing the victim or exaggerating your struggles. It's about selective vulnerability, showing just enough to create a bond, while leaving no doubt that you can thrive with or without them. When you master this balance, you'll find them thinking about how they can stay meaningful in your life, constantly seeking ways to support and connect with you. Technique 7. Create a rivalry. The seventh technique is creating a rivalry. It's not about directly involving third parties to stir jealousy or chaos. It's about subtly highlighting your value in a way that makes them realize you're someone worth competing for. Here's the truth. People value what others desire. If they think they're the only one who sees your worth, they may begin to take it for granted. But when they sense that others recognize your qualities, it triggers a natural instinct to secure what could potentially be lost to someone else. Imagine this. During a conversation, you casually mention how a coworker complimented your creativity or how a friend recently appreciated your advice. For instance, you might say, "A friend told me the other day that they always come to me for advice because I help them see things clearly. It made me feel good to know I can make a difference." Notice how this isn't bragging or exaggerating. It's a subtle reminder that others see your worth too. And in their mind, they might start wondering, who else values you? Could I be missing something? This sense of subtle rivalry keeps them on their toes. They'll reflect on your qualities and begin to feel a need to secure their position in your life. But be cautious. This technique is about sparking healthy admiration, not outright jealousy. You're not trying to make them feel insecure. You're simply reminding them that your attention is valuable and that others recognize your worth. By creating this gentle rivalry, you reinforce the idea that you're someone worth pursuing, someone they don't want to lose to the competition. Technique 8. Limited access. The 8th technique is limited access. This is about showing that your time, attention, and presence are not always readily available, and that's what makes them valuable. Think about it. When something is always within reach, it becomes easy to take for granted. But when it feels exclusive or scarce, its value skyrockets. The same applies to your presence. Here's how you use this technique. You don't answer every call immediately. You don't always say yes to plans. Instead, you set boundaries, prioritize your own schedule, and show that your time is precious. For instance, if they ask to meet up last minute, you might say something like, "I'd love to, but I've already got plans. Let's find a time that works later this week." Notice how this response isn't rude or dismissive. It's confident and balanced. You're not dropping everything for them, but you're still open to connecting on your terms. The psychology behind this is simple. People are drawn to what feels rare and exclusive. When you limit access to yourself, you create a sense of anticipation. They start to see time with you as a privilege, not a given. This technique also sends a powerful message. You have a full, meaningful life outside of them. That independence makes you even more attractive because it shows you're not relying on them to complete you. By setting boundaries and controlling your availability, you remind them that your presence is something to be earned, not assumed. It keeps them engaged, intrigued, and eager to secure their place in your life. Technique 9. Delayed response. The 9th technique is delayed response. In a world of instant communication, where everyone expects quick replies, taking your time to respond can create a powerful impression. Here's why it works. When you don't reply immediately, it disrupts their expectations. It creates a pause, a moment of uncertainty, where they wonder, why haven't you responded yet? What could you be doing? This momentary gap plants curiosity and keeps you on their mind. For example, let's say they send you a text. Instead of replying within minutes, you wait an hour or two, or even longer if the situation allows. When you finally do respond, your tone is warm and engaging, as if nothing unusual happened. You're not ignoring them to be spiteful. You're simply showing that you're not glued to your phone, waiting for their message. This technique works because it subtly communicates that your time is valuable. It makes them realize that you're not always accessible, which adds a layer of intrigue. But there's a fine balance to maintain. If you delay too often or for too long, it can come across as disinterest or disrespect. The key is to keep it natural and situational. When done right, delayed responses create anticipation. They start checking their phone, wondering when they'll hear from you. It's not about playing games. It's about showing that you have a life outside of your interactions with them. Remember, the power of delayed response lies in making them feel your time is precious. And when they finally get your attention, it feels more meaningful and intentional. Technique 10. Intensify doubt. The 10th technique is intensify doubt. This strategy is about creating just enough uncertainty to keep them questioning their place in your life. Doubt, when used wisely, isn't about manipulation. It's about reinforcing your independence and keeping their interest alive. Here's the psychology behind it. People crave security and stability in relationships. But when they feel overly secure, complacency sets in. By introducing a little bit of doubt, you disrupt their sense of certainty, making them work harder to stay relevant in your world. For example, you might casually say something like, "This week has been so hectic, but it's been great catching up with some amazing people." Or, "I've been focused on a new project that's been taking up a lot of my time. It's exciting to see where it's heading." You're not being vague to confuse them. You're simply showing that your life is full and vibrant, with or without their presence. This creates a subtle but powerful reaction. Am I still important to them? Who are these amazing people? What's this exciting project? The key is balance. You're not trying to make them feel insecure or unworthy. You're simply reminding them that they don't have exclusive access to your time or energy. When you intensify doubt, you ignite their curiosity and desire to secure their place in your life. It keeps them thinking about you long after the conversation ends, wondering how they can remain part of your world. By showing that you're independent and dynamic, you not only maintain their interest, but also command their respect. Let me guess, you're here because you're tired. Not just physically tired, but emotionally drained. You've spent so much time, so much energy, chasing someone's attention. You've rewritten the same message 10 times, hoping this time they'll respond differently. You've played their words over and over in your head, trying to decode what they really meant. But let's be honest, what has all this chasing brought you? Have they shown you the respect you deserve? Have they gone out of their way to make you feel valued, important, or even noticed? Or are you left sitting in silence, staring at your phone, wondering why you're always the one who cares more? Here's the truth: they don't see your worth. Not because you don't have it, but because you've handed it to them without a second thought. You've made them the center of your world, and in doing so, you've made yourself an option, a backup plan, a convenient choice. These statements are light and non-committal, but they work because they place you in their future. They start to picture themselves in these moments with you, creating a sense of connection that stretches beyond the present. The beauty of future hooks is that they're subtle yet powerful. You're not pressuring them into making plans. You're simply suggesting possibilities. This allows them to feel like they're choosing to include you in their life, which makes the bond stronger. Future hooks work best when paired with genuine excitement and positivity. When they think about these potential moments, they'll associate them with warmth, fun, and connection. By giving them a glimpse of a shared future, you create an emotional anchor, one that keeps you on their mind as they look forward to what's next. Practical examples and actionable advice. Now that you understand these 11 techniques, let's bring them to life with practical examples and advice to make them easy to apply. Imagine this: you've been texting someone regularly, always the first to initiate. Instead, try silent withdrawal, pause, give them space to miss you. When they reach out, respond warmly but on your terms. This small shift shows that your attention is valuable. Or consider creating a rivalry. During a casual chat, mention how a coworker admired your insight on a project. Say it in passing, not boastfully. It's a subtle reminder of your value and leaves them wondering who else notices you. For future hooks, casually mention something like, "This hiking spot I visited recently would be so much fun with the right company." This plants the idea of shared moments without pressure, making them think about you in their future. Here's the key: use these techniques authentically. They're not about manipulation. They're about valuing yourself first. When you embrace your independence, confidence, and worth, others naturally gravitate toward you. Remember, balance is everything. Don't overuse these strategies, or they might come across as calculated. Instead, weave them naturally into your interactions, letting your genuine personality shine. Above all, practice self-respect. These techniques only work when rooted in the belief that you're enough as you are. Build your self-worth from within, and others will begin to see and appreciate it too. Start small, stay consistent, and watch as the dynamic shifts, not because you've begged for attention, but because you've shown you're worth it. Conclusion and call to action: 500 words. We've covered a lot in this video, from understanding your value to mastering the 11 techniques that make others think about you without chasing their attention. But let's take a moment to step back and reflect on the bigger. At the heart of these strategies lies one simple truth: your worth doesn't depend on someone else's recognition. It starts and ends with you. These techniques, silent withdrawal, limited access, future hooks, and more aren't about manipulation or control. They're tools to remind yourself and others that you're not someone to be taken lightly. Think of it this way: when you value your time, your energy, and your presence, you teach others to do the same. By setting boundaries, creating intrigue, and showing your independence, you're not only becoming more attractive, you're becoming unforgettable. But remember, these strategies are only as powerful as the mindset behind them. If you use them while still doubting your worth, they'll fall flat. That's why the first step is always self-respect. Once you believe in your own value, these techniques amplify that confidence and show the world who you truly are. Now it's time for action. I challenge you to pick just one of these techniques and apply it this week. Start small. Maybe it's waiting a little longer to reply to a message or setting a boundary by saying no to something that doesn't serve you. Observe how it feels to take back control, not out of spite, but out of respect for yourself. And here's the most important thing: be patient. Change doesn't happen overnight, but each small step builds momentum. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. If you found value in this video, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need a reminder of their worth. Hit the like button to help spread this message to others who are searching for answers. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. By subscribing, you're not just supporting our community, you're making a commitment to your own growth. Together, we'll explore more tools, strategies, and Stoic wisdom to help you live a life of confidence and self-respect. Finally, I want to hear from you. Which technique resonated with you the most? Drop it in the comments below and share your thoughts. Your experience could inspire someone else on their journey.